All right, shalom, brother, sister, brother Kazakia. And I'm going to do a quick session here for those of you who are looking for a word today. And excuse me, that time of year again, and cold season's coming up quick, and I'm fighting something again. So, but y'all just pray for me. But anyway, I want to do a quick lesson that something that was on my heart this morning. I woke up this morning, and the Most High put in my heart to my little grandbaby. I want to talk about addictions. Now, someone might say, "Well, brother, why are you talking about addictions?" And when we think about addiction, most of the time we thinking about drugs, alcohol, drug addiction, or substance abuse. But addictions come in many forms. And a lot of times people don't really understand what an addiction is. So what I'd like to do is let's go to Google right quick and let's see what Google has to say about addiction. Okay, so because like I was saying, most of the time people think when you talk about addiction, you're talking about drugs or alcohol or substance. So let's just look at this word addiction and let's get a definition for it. It says addiction is the fact or condition of being addicted to a particular substance, thing, or activity. See that? So now it doesn't just include a substance as an addiction, but it says addiction to a particular substance, thing, or activity, right? So addiction comes in many forms, right? Most of us, we say, "Oh, I'm not addicted, I'm drug free," but that means that I'm not addicted. So we have many things that are addictions to us, and I'll name some things off. And if I don't name your thing, you think about it. The addiction, as we said, by way of definition, is a condition of being addicted to a thing or an activity. Okay, so now let's just kind of let's dig a little deeper, and let's look at an addict. What is an addict? Okay. An addict is a person who is addicted to a particular substance, typically an illegal drug. Okay, so now when they use that word addict, right, they're using the word in reference to a drug, but an addict is not necessarily, as we already defined, an addiction is not just simply a drug, but it is a thing or an activity. Okay, for example, you could be addicted to working. You're not satisfied or comfortable unless you're working. You always got to be working, right? That's an addict, right? Now, if you're working in excess, all your needs are met, and you're working because you just like money, then you are a working addict, which is not good. That's the reason why the Most High gave us, he said, 6 days shall a man work and do all his work, but the seventh day is a Shabbat or a Sabbath. Now, on that note, I'm gonna say this because a lot of us work for employers, and we never take the initiative to have our employer to know that we are seventh-day keepers, right? And respectfully so, because most employers are first-day keepers, and if you tell them that I want Sunday off to go to church, most of the time, 9 chances out of 10, that employer will honor that. He will try to work your schedule to where you won't have to work on Sunday. So if that be the case, then why not do the same thing for the 7th day, which the world calls Saturday, and let your employer know this is my Sabbath, like Sunday is your Sabbath, right? Saturday is my Sabbath, or the 7th day. So I'm not available to work during those hours. And if you do that going in the door, it shouldn't be no problem. But if you do that, if you go in the door and you start a job, and all of a sudden now you coming back talking about you want Saturdays off, you might have a problem, right? So what I'm saying is, the Most High is smarter than man. Man needs a day of rest. The world wants you to believe that you're supposed to always be doing something, so you can be an addict by just being repetitively doing something that you necessarily don't have to do, right? Now, it's good for man or woman to work, but it's bad when you are working excessively when you don't have to work. Okay? It's one thing for you to work to provide for your family. It's another thing for you to work and to be in excess, right? We don't want to be in excess, right? I could give you tons and tons of scriptures on that, but I want to just kind of talk a little bit and for this particular share. Okay, now, so on the subject of addictions, right? A lot of times we don't understand the things that we do is an addiction, right? For example, a person could be addicted to sleeping. Oh yes, there are a lot of people that are poor, or a lot of people that are stagnated because they are addicted to sleeping. They're set in their mind that I have to have 8 hours of sleep every day. Some people feel like they gotta have 12 hours of sleep. Some people will sleep all day long and only get up to eat and watch their favorite show and go back to sleep. That is a bad addiction, because there is a scripture there, so I'm gonna give it to you now since I'm there, where, and I like this Google, okay, it says, love not sleep, okay?
Here's some information about sleep.
Wait a minute, hold on. Love not sleep, okay? Proverbs 20 and 13, see that? So if you don't know where something is, you don't have to have Bible software, none of that, and that's good to have, but if you got a cell phone, you can find it. You can find a scripture. You want to know what the word says about a specific topic. So here's Proverbs 20 and 13, and this is what it says. It says, love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. See that? So now, we can take this from two angles. We can take it from an angle of sleeping in consciousness, or we could take it from the angle of sleeping in just physically sleeping, okay? It goes both ways. The coin goes both ways, okay? It's a double-edged sword, okay? So if you love sleep, the proverb says, love not sleep, unless you come to poverty. So if you want to have a condition to change your life, you got to get over sleeping, being a sleep addict. There are a lot of people that, like I said, are addicted to sleeping. You don't see it that way. Well, what are some things that could cause a person to become a sleep addict? One thing comes to mind is depression, right? Depression, because you are depressed about who you are as a person, number one, and number two, what you have accomplished in your life, and three, what you have to do before you. A person can become depressed, for example, if you have a lot of tasks in front of you and you don't have a good time management skill, you might take and become frustrated because you got so much to do and you're like, well, I don't know where to begin. So you have to strategic plan your time and a task Okay, maybe you might have 5 things that need to be done, so you're overwhelmed. So then what do? You focus on that one thing and get that one thing accomplished, and then you go to the next thing and get the next thing accomplished. Sooner than later, you will have developed a style of troubleshooting problems, because you will learn to be able to multitask at the same time. But if you originally excuse me, if you originally can't multitask, then focus on one specific thing. For example, a good example, if you got a lot of debt, right? You can't pay all the debts off at one time. You focus in on that one bill. Maybe start with the smallest bill. Focus on knocking that off. Bam. Go to the next one. Knock that one off. Bam. Next thing you know, bam. Once you get that under your belt, then you become a holistic person, where you might be able to knock out 5 or 6 debts at one time, because you are so accustomed to managing each one of those debts, that each one of those problems, you can fix those problems because you become rehearsed at it, right? So if you're a parent, right, and you have multiple children, right, you have to learn from that first child. So what happened if you had a first child and you did not attend to that child to manage that one, then another one pops up. Now you got 2 children to manage. How do you manage the 2 children when you first learn how to manage the one? Now you got to figure out, okay, what did I lack with that first one, right? And how can I correct the lack that I had in the first one, so now I can come up to speed with the second one? You see, right? So all of that has to do with managing of your time and of your skills, and managing of your evaluation of what needs to be done, right? Okay, so like I said, an addiction is not just I'm addicted to a drug, alcohol, or even cigarettes. Now, I will say this much: smoking drugs, alcohol can be addictions, right? And smoking cigarettes. Okay, now here's the thing. Let's be real. If you feel like that you have to have alcohol every day, right? A cigarette every day, a joint every day, whatever, you're addicted. Now, it's a difference between wanting something and doing it versus I have to have it. I have to have it is an addiction. You can go without it. If you can go without it, then you're not addicted. But if you have to have it and I can't function, it's just like coffee could be an addiction. And it is addiction to some people. I can't function unless I have my coffee. My attitude is bad unless I have my coffee, right? I didn't have my coffee yet, right? So addiction comes in many forms. So what I want to share with you and offer to you is that let's practice on observing whether or not what I'm doing is an addiction, okay? For example, you could be addicted to reading the Bible, that you neglect to do your other duties as a parent. Your children are not getting any attention because you're always reading the Bible. That's an addiction, and that's a bad addiction, because you are now becoming a parent that's not attentive to the needs of the children that you brought into the world. Okay, now it's different if you take that Bible and you bring them into your life and you read with them, and then you spend time with them and do other things with them, make sure they have food to eat and clothes and so forth like that, right? But when you're so consumed with a thing, it's an addiction. And an addiction that has you consumed to where you neglect to do your responsibilities and duties is a bad addiction. Okay? Now, reading the Bible is a good thing. But when you're reading the Bible at the expense of others, and of the responsibility that you are supposed to have as a parent, as a father, as a mother, etc., then it's a bad addiction, right? Okay? Now, addiction also is when a person can have a self-addiction. A self-addiction where I am more concerned about me than I am about you or anything else that is surrounded by that surrounds me. Okay? Other words, get out of my space. This is my time, whatever. Okay? As they say in corporate America, we should be an open book. It should be an open door policy. Okay? At any given time, if someone needs you, you should be available for that person. That means that person that's available is not a self-addict. They will take themselves out the picture to help somebody else to do something else. And that's a hard thing to do because this world promotes self-addiction. It's promoted in the corporate system. It's promoted in the workplace. It's promoted in the school system. It's promoted in every walk of life. Self-addiction. Think about yourself first. You turn on the TV, listen to talk shows, you hear more people are more concerned about their self-image than about doing the right thing, right? Okay? So you can have a self-addiction, right? Where, like I said, you're shunning your responsibilities, you're not doing the thing you're supposed to do, right? You are parent first. Your children need their parent to be there for them, but yet, I gotta go get me some drugs. I gotta go get some alcohol. Or I gotta go party. I gotta go hang out with my friends, right? You're addicted. And that's a bad addiction because that type of addiction is called abandonment. Abandonment. When you will abandon your family to go after that drug or after that man or after that woman or after that whatever, and you will abandon your children or leave your children with somebody else, that's an addiction. And that's a bad addiction because it's a bad addiction because you're setting a bad example for those people that you are responsible for. Okay? So we're talking about addictions. The thing that we have been, for lack of a better way to express it, controlled. A thing that controls you, sex, is an addiction. It can be. It's a thin line between a necessity and an addiction. Right? A lot of times people don't see it that way. Well, I'm married, have as much sex as I want. You could be sexually addicted and not realize it. So much so that a lot of people will become unfaithful because of that sexual addiction. And the expression is, I have a need that has to be scratched, right? So because I have a need and my spouse is not meeting the need, I'm gonna go out and get the need met. That's an addiction. Okay? You could be addicted to watching TV, right? I gotta see my favorite show every day, right? And it's real easy. It's real easy to become addicted. It's real easy. Okay? It's real easy to become addicted because we have what the world calls pastime things we do. And sometimes when a pastime thing is so repetitious that I gotta do this at this given time, right? It's an addiction, right? There's nothing wrong with watching TV. I'm about to say it. What I'm saying is, you could be addicted that you won't do nothing else but that at that time because this is what I want to do or this is my regular routine, right? Okay, addicted. Watching football could be an addiction, right? I gotta see football. Okay, I gotta work, but you know what? I'm gonna watch football. Okay, all right. I just happen to have to work on football Sunday, and I am looking at the am I addicted? Or am I going to work? So what's most important, okay? To work or to be addicted to watching football? For example, my grandson right here, he's addicted to, what's that thing you play? The Sony PlayStation. He's addicted. And it's so addicted that sometimes you got to pull him from that game so he can eat, because he's a child and he doesn't see that that's an addiction. And the reality of the matter is he may not see that he needs to eat. All he knows is I'm playing this game and I can't stop. That's an addiction, right? Now, here's the interesting thing. We start a lot of times as children, right? In an early age with addictions, and then we graduate to an adult age in the same addictions. So addiction is a childlike behavior. I'm gonna say that again. An addiction is a childlike behavior. An addiction that takes you away from your responsibility is a childlike behavior. Okay? When you are addicted to doing something that you shun your responsibility, you are in fact acting like a child. I don't care if you're 100 years old, or if you're 50 years old, or if you're 70 years old. If you are doing something and neglecting your responsibility because you want to do this, you're acting like a child. So addiction is the thing that will cause us to not do what we are supposed to do, right? Yeah, for example, you see how children are, he hit me, she hit me, right? And it's back and forth. As they say, tat for tit, tit for tat. We can't sit at the table together and play because I want this Android phone because I had it first. That's what you call a childlike behavior. And so when a person is acting in an addiction and they're neglecting their responsibility, that is a childlike behavior. There's no way around it. Okay? So in getting over the spirit of addiction, the first thing we have to do to get over the spirit of addiction is to first acknowledge that I am addicted. And if you can't see that you are being self-centered by putting yourself first and not your responsibility, then you will never get over the addiction. A person who will reject being set free or delivered from addiction will always say, everybody's picking on me. That in itself is a childlike behavior, because an adult, once we reach an adult stage, we are going to be critiqued, right? People are going to say things to help us, okay? No one's perfect, absolutely not. That's right, no one is perfect, okay? There are things in my life that you may see, you may say, brother, you need to tighten up in this area, right? And now, when you give me criticism about what I might need to tighten up, you look for criticism for what I'm going to bring to you, for what you need to tighten up, and we govern ourselves based on the critique that we got from a righteous critique, not a wicked critique, a righteous critique. Okay? And that's how we would get over the addiction. To first acknowledge that this thing is an addiction, and it's a bad addiction because it's taking me away from my responsibility, or it's causing me to become unfruitful or unproductive. The acknowledgement, and then we have to secondly apologize or repent first to the Most High for our shortcoming of being addicted and neglecting our responsibility, and then two, confess our faults one to another, like Yaakov or James says, confess your faults one to another that you might be healed. And so the solution and the result of getting over addiction is acknowledging I'm addicted, and then confessing my faults, to repenting of my sins to the Most High, and confessing of my fault to those who have wronged, and that we might be healed. And on that note, I pray that you got something out of this sharing on this Shabbat. Until next time, may the blessings of the Most High Yah be with you and your family on this Shabbat. Shalom, shalom, shalom.